Okay, welcome to my recap of Hell's Kitchen for Monday and Tuesday. This week there were some pretty interesting challenges. The first show on Monday was an entire fashion show. So basically, the teams had to get their food out between the runway models walking. So the first ones were evening wear, and they went out, and the appetizers had to go out. And the Blue Kitchen dropped the ball on this one. Clemenza started cooking scallops way ahead of time when he shouldn't have been, and then he started over again. And he ended up being 10 minutes behind on the scallops, but I don't really blame him considering there was pretty much nothing else being ordered. I think he had like 6 or 7 orders of scallops at once, and everybody else seemed to be doing nothing, and Clemenza was busting his butt trying to get these scallops out there. So, and of course, they have to be cooked perfectly, which I don't know how to do, but if you're going to be on Hell's Kitchen, you better know how to do scallops, because that's like pretty much staple of Ramsay's kitchens. Okay, part two was the swimwear, which was really hilarious because they showed this montage of the guys like eyes bugging out when the models were coming out. So they had to be making the entrees, and Chef wanted them out exactly when the fashion show ended. So let's see. I know there was big problems with the swordfish and people running out of beef. So in the red team, uh, they ran out of beef, and everyone's trying. I think it was Robin who ran out of beef, and everybody is like, "Oh, we should go to the blue side and steal some meat or ask them for it." The previews made it look like they were going to steal the meat and then get caught by Ramsay, but that didn't even happen. Nobody got caught. Nobody stole meat. In the end, they had to admit they didn't have enough meat and get yelled at. And on the blue side, not only were they distracted by the ladies, but Clemenza made tons and tons of swordfish. And that was actually his meal that he'd won from the previous challenge that he got to put on the menu. And he wasn't cooking it right, so it kept being sent back. In the end, he and Royce were called out because Chef Ramsay found the graveyard of swordfish, as I'll call it, where Clemenza made all this extra swordfish, and Ramsay was like, "What? What's this about?" And Royce was like, "I don't know what's going on." But Clemenza was mad because Royce had told him the wrong number, and he did. Earlier in the episode, Royce told him this gigantic number that wasn't actually the order of swordfish. It's very strange. Also, we noticed that Tiffany doesn't really do anything. She kind of just tells people what to do, and then she doesn't have to get in trouble for anything. So, sweet move, Tiffany. Royce and Kimmy were the ones who were plating everything because they wanted everything to get out really fast. So there was like a team of platers, and they were at it. Royce was called out though because he was using some dank towel that had like all this stuff all over it, and he's supposed to use the sweet wipes that Ramsay has on the counter. So Royce, bad move. You don't want to go and clean the dishes with a dirty towel in Ramsay's restaurants. So anyway, at the end of this episode, Blue Team lost, so they had to nominate, and they nominated Clemenza and Guy. And I forgot to mention that Guy served a whole whack of cold meat during that time, so he deserved to be up there. I did not feel Clemenza deserved to be up there. I might have an overlove for Clemenza, but he had to do all the scallops and all the swordfish, and it felt like that station was just slammed, and he had to do it all himself. So I don't know what else was on the menu because, frankly, I didn't see anything else. So in the end, Ramsay said to the blue team, well, "Who do you want out?" And they all said Clemenza, and Clemenza was like, "What?" And I was also like, "What are you talking about? Clemenza is awesome." And Guy ended up leaving because Ramsay doesn't listen to the people. He does what he wants. Okay, so today, Tuesday's Hell's Kitchen. So I flipped my notes to find out what happened. I just watched it, so it should be pretty fresh in my head. Okay, we started off with a challenge, and basically there was those round lid plate thingies that underneath was surprises, and well, they were ingredients. So there were 4 of those, and every 5 minutes, Ramsay would ding a bell and reveal the plates. So the first one, you had to pick your protein that you were going to start with, and it was all about being able to adapt. So you had to use whatever ingredient you ended up with. Now, the blue team, they worked together to decide whose dish could use what, so they didn't really argue. With the red team, it was like cage match fighting. They were like, ding, running, hitting people, grabbing whatever, and then people were getting things they just didn't know how to use or didn't even think went with their dish. But surprisingly, they did really well overall. So to judge it, there were 3 chefs with Michelin stars. None of them I knew because I just not up on the chef world, but I'm sure they're awesome people. And they had to give each dish a score from 1 to 3 stars. So one of the funniest things that happened during this was Robin, basically, when she revealed her dish, said, "Oh, I hate beets." So she's serving the judges, and she tells them she hates what's in her dish. Not a very good move. And then she was called out on it, and she goes, "I could have made more love to the beets." That's awesome. Okay. I don't think you have any love for beets, so don't pretend that you do. Royce had a gigantic hair in one of his dishes, and he served it to one of the Michelin star chefs, and everybody was grossed out. There's nothing worse than getting a long hair. And I won't say what the other chefs said because this is G-rated, but it was pretty funny. So, in the end, the red won 30 stars to 29 because Christina's lobster dish was fantastic and earned a 3-star from the lady judge. And also is going to be on the menu for that night. So the red team won a trip to the spa, which is always awesome, and a surprise gift of pots and pans, which they were very excited about, and they were nice and shiny, so I would have loved them too. The blue team won the chance to clean the dorms and prep both sides of the kitchen. Yay! So Barbie starts telling them how to clean the bathroom, and I'm like, if I was them, I'd be like, "Hey Barbie, why don't you zip it? You're not cleaning, you're going to the spa." Then at the spa, Barbie was all upset because she wanted to make sure the bath water was not reused for each person. So Robin's in there and she's like, "You're gonna change the water in the bathtub, right?" "Well, yeah, they're probably a world-class spa to sit in each other's bath water. That doesn't usually happen. But do you really have to say it? That's just weird." So dinner time comes, and we have 2 special guests sitting at the chef's tables. We've got Sugar Ray Leonard, who's a huge boxing legend and was on Dancing with the Stars, so I know who he is, and an MMA champ named Tito Ortiz. Now, I know that name, but I had never actually seen him before. So Sugar Ray was sitting in the red kitchen, Tito in the blue. And so much went wrong with tonight's service, it was embarrassing. So first, Clemenza, who's my favorite, screws up the spaghetti. "Come on, Clemenza, cook spaghetti. You're Italian." Which apparently means you can cook spaghettis. That was his mistake. Christina's risotto for Sugar Ray was undercooked. Then Brian made soupy risotto for Tito. And then he does this stupid little boxing dance. He's like, "Wow, wow, 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 wow." And Tito's like, "Right." Tiffany got caught licking the knife. She kept sticking the knife against her lip and sticking it in the Wellingtons, and sticking it on her lip. So she was called out for that. And that was gross. Roshni kept serving raw Wellingtons, which is not a good thing. I think you can tell, even I can tell now that they're raw. I'm not even cooking them. Robin spent a whole bunch of time chatting up Sugar Ray. She said it was a conversation, but I only saw her talking to Sugar Ray, and Sugar Ray going, "When is this lady going to stop talking?" Now, Robin basically told her whole life story to Sugar Ray. Tiffany served up some gross-looking Wellingtons. Patrick served lobster cold twice. And then Ramsey had it with the blue team and just kicked them out. And Tito was going, should his camera take pictures of the blue team being shoved out? Or if he took video, it'd be awesome if it was posted. I will totally put a link to that. So blue team was kicked out, embarrassed. Chef Scott went to get them and said, come on down, and Ramsay says, you cannot come into this kitchen until you make your decision who's going to leave. So blue team stupidly nominates Brian and Clemenza. Why? Clemenza messed up once, and Brian, besides his bad dancing, only messed up once. Twice. So I figured they'd nominate Patrick and Roshni because they really screwed up the entrees. And so did Ramsay, who apparently I have a psychic mind link with, because he said, you shouldn't have nominated those two. Patrick, Roshni, get out here. You're the ones who should be nominated. I could be Chef Ramsay. Anyway, after passionate pleas, and the team mostly saying they want Roshni out, except the red team going, go Roshni, go, Roshni left. I was really shocked with this because she was right. She and Brian finished up a service once. Patrick's been kicked out tons, and I haven't really seen Patrick do anything good. Maybe he's just being hidden from me. Anyway, next week's episode is being called the most bizarre episode in Hell's Kitchen history. So a lot of crazy stuff looks like it's going to go down. So hope you enjoyed my review. If you have anything to say about Hell's Kitchen, please post it below. Thank you. Bye.